Canada, like other major industrial nations, is experiencing an unprecedented population growth among those over the age of 65. With boomers now entering their retirement years, our social landscape will continue to change dramatically. Stats Canada reports indicate that 38% of our population will be over the age of 50 by the year 2016. What worries experts is that our rapidly aging boomers could double the demand for elder care assistance over the next 25 years, which raises the question of who will take care of us and how. Like the experts, Canadians too are worried about long-term care. A recent study shows that 57% of us have care concerns, not only for ourselves, but our partners as well, with a similar number of us worried about how we will pay for it. Yet, despite growing awareness that long-term care challenges continue to grow, Canadians appear ill-prepared for their future care needs.
Well, I guess we would have to sell the house to pay for the long-term care costs, if we could ever pay for the mortgage.
Long-term care. I don't really know what we're going to do about long-term care. This is when we're really old. We don't have any children to depend on, so it's really a bit frightening.
I must confess I haven't given it any thought at all. I regret not doing it before I retired. I have had family members in requiring long-term care help, and it's been rather expensive, so it's something I'll have to discuss with my wife and plan for sure.
The lack of long-term care planning is common for the young and old alike. So when the need presents itself, it often catches families by surprise. Yet according to experts, there should be no surprises when it comes to long-term care. They say that it's a predictable fact of life that most of us will face.
The population is definitely aging, and the likelihood that we will live to 100 is increased. At this advanced age, all of us will require some degree of long-term care.
Dr. Becker, a recognized gerontologist, points out that over 40% of the population over the age of 65 will have long-term care needs at some point, with 1/3 requiring institutional care. He explains that the average stay is 3 to 4 years, often prompted by deteriorating cognitive function or mobility.
The three key factors that would increase an individual's need for long-term care include advanced age, the female sex, and a specific chronic medical condition, commonly cognitive loss or mobility problems.
Dr. Becker says the propensity to fall is quite common amongst seniors and can prompt the need for long-term care support. Injuries resulting from falls impact an individual's ability to manage what gerontologists call activities of daily living. These activities include eating, bathing, toileting, transferring, dressing, and maintaining continence.
This care can be provided in a number of settings, either in the home with professional trained or untrained caregivers, the daycare setting, or an institutional setting such as a retirement home, assisted living housing, or nursing or chronic hospital level care.
Currently, 1 in 3 Canadian boomers are caring for aging relatives, with many feeling the caregiving crunch. Maureen, a successful businesswoman and mother of 3, knows the toll that caregiving brings all too well. 6 years ago, Maureen's father was diagnosed with a life-threatening condition that would require long-term care once he left the hospital. As the eldest daughter, Maureen not only took on the task of organizing her father's care, but figuring out how to support her mother, who would remain in the family home.
I thought that motherhood put my caregiving skills to the test, but I really had no idea. The need to care for my dad, while at the same time supporting my mom through his illness, was far more difficult than I ever imagined. The time off work, the emotional stress that it caused, it was much more than my family ever expected.
Like many caregivers, Maureen's family also faced the financial burden of long-term care, especially as her mother's need to remain in the family home required supporting 2 care environments for her aging parents.
We had no idea what the cost would be to continue to provide the quality of life that both my mom and my dad were accustomed to. We wanted someone to be there for my dad when we couldn't be, and the pool of funds that we had set aside for that level of care disappeared far quicker than we thought it would.
Like Maureen, Canadians in caregiving roles quickly learn that healthcare provisions often don't cover the costs of providing elders with the level of care they need. With unprecedented long-term care demands escalating as never before, can Canadians afford to rely on government alone?
With the dramatic rise in the aging population, seeing by the year 2056 we will move from 13% of the population over 65 to 27% of the population over 65. It will be almost impossible to imagine that our social network will be able to provide for us the way it currently does. At that point, the growth of private services will certainly be needed to expand in order to serve the need in the population.
According to Dr. Becker, aging women present unique long-term care challenges. Many require the financial means to stay in their own home while caring for a spouse in a long-term care facility. Or, when women require care themselves, they cannot rely on a spouse.
It is more likely that men will depend on their spouse for their needs as their condition worsens. On the other hand, women are much more likely to survive well beyond their spouse, and as a result they'll end up more commonly living alone and will need to depend on outside sources of help as their disability increases.
While none of us can predict exactly how our old age will play out, experts like Dr. Becker say the odds are good that we'll need long-term care at some point. They also say that planning for long-term care is key to preserve the quality of life of those who require care and the quality of life for family members who care for them. Research shows that nearly 51% of Canadians fear becoming a burden to their family. So why aren't boomers planning for their own long-term care needs, knowing all too well the caregiving burden, and given that they put such importance on controlling the quality of their lives? While many factors are at play, the hope is that boomers will rise to this challenge as no other generation before them. And the time for them to do so is now.